Welcome to a pro wrestler's handbook. I was going to take a couple of days off from making videos altogether, except for maybe dropping a Patreon one, which I still might do if I have time after this. I'm talking rather loud because I got the dryer going. Doing a couple things. Shit. I need to go get the fucking power cord because this shit's going to run out of power. Nah, fuck it. We're going to go on faith, which is really stupid of me. All right. Then people were sending me shit this morning. A post Josh Wheeler made, taking a shot at Larry. And then I saw a couple of wrestlers who I follow on Facebook who are just getting in their own head with depression and that kind of thing. And then like Jerry Maguire was on, and I was like, I'm not gonna watch that bullshit. But for some reason, I just kept it on while I was doing other things, and then they had a scene where something was mentioned that I hate to use the word, but it's accurate. It triggered something in my head, and I just went, holy shit, I remember this Pro Wrestler's Handbook I wanted to do, and today seems like a good enough time to do it. So I'm going to do it. By the way, today, it's Valentine's Day, so happy Valentine's Day, fools. I am going to go have lunch. I'm going to go to Disney's Magic Kingdom and have lunch with fucking Buddy Burke. And if you don't know who Buddy Burke is, I've never face-to-face met Buddy Burke. But he and I, there's all kinds of weird connections that I didn't know about. Like, I didn't know that he's the guy who Jeff G. Bailey, as a young man, probably in his Casino Riviera days, sort of drove with Buddy Burke, and he was the veteran who sort of like Jeff bothered a lot to learn about pro wrestling, and it was a lot harder to get in back then, and Buddy Burke was that guy. But that's not why Buddy Burke and I are meeting for lunch. We're meeting for lunch because he had sort of commented about things about my videos in general, sort of like oh, look, he's making fucking racist jokes about Asians. It's just like, oh my God, when are we going to cancel him? But he did it really tongue-in-cheek, and I thought it was really funny. So we just started messaging back and forth, and I don't know if I could be bold as to say he's a fan of my videos, but he watches them, and one thing led to another, and a couple other things have happened sort of behind the scenes, and he's like, I'm going to be in Orlando, and he asked for help, like, what's a good hotel to stay until our Disney hotel is open. So, I helped him out there, and then he was like, yeah, if you want to hang out. But last weekend was really fucking busy. I had my party, and I work every fucking day. Today I only had to work for an hour and a half, thank goodness. So I was like, fuck, I can meet him for lunch. And so I'm going to go do it. There, he's with his family at Magic Kingdom having a good old time, and I don't want to fucking slow their roll, so I'm just going to get there around noon. All right. Let's get the other housekeeping shit out of the way. And it's a bit of a braggadocious moment. I got this damn thing in my post office box. And I wanted to open it. And I want to open a shirt. And I still have other packages, but I'm going to open both of these two things. Why? I'll just be bluntly honest. For this Pro Wrestler's Handbook, I need people to pay attention to the message. And I was considering not releasing it as a Pro Wrestler's Handbook and finding another way to title it, because the Pro Wrestler's Handbook just tend to not do as well. And but fuck that. It's an educational moment, so I'm going to put it here. Because that's an important part of the channel. And some would argue it's the most important part of the channel, so fuck it. I'm calling it Pro Wrestler's Handbook. I'm starting to open this thing, just so it'll go a little faster later on. Ooh, that looks cool. Whatever the fuck that is. But I'm going to open the t-shirt first. This is what I'm going to wear to Disney, though. I love this t-shirt. Let's go for note. No note. No note. Oh, shit! Kumite. How fucking cool is this shit? Kumite. Yeah! Chong Li. Fuck yeah! You know what? I'm gonna put this bitch on because it's a great way to start. I don't know what the fuck that thing is. I know it's metal. And it seems, I don't know. Anyway. Fuck yeah! Badass. Here's why this shirt is actually apropos. I'm calling this video something like 5%. And I'll get into why in just a moment. Maybe you're trying to guess right now what the fuck I'm going to be talking about. 5%. 5%. Is that the percentage of people who go to NXT tryouts that get in? Is that the percentage of promotions that make a profit? Is that the percentage of what's 5%? We're going to answer that in a little bit. But this, do you know the story of Frank Dukes? Bloodsport, right? The movie. It's about the Kumite, this full contact tournament that took place in Thailand or Singapore, I believe. And Frank Dukes went AWOL in order to go over there and compete in this thing in honor of his sensei, who... It's bullshit! The whole story is bullshit. The Kumite, in the form it is depicted, does not exist. In fact, it probably has never existed. Period. It's bullshit. Frank Dukes doesn't know martial arts. He's a bullshit artist. Did you know that? Did it strike you as weird in the Bloodsport movie that when he knocked dude out really fast, the guy that, you know, he switched the coin out in his hand and the guy with the fucking headdress and he's like, meh, meh, meh. And then that guy pretended to be knocked out because he didn't want to get hit by Frank Dukes again because Frank Dukes is so amazing, right? And then they flip the board and it's like new world record, fastest knockout. And like, how did they print the board instantly that fast with a laser printer? But this was like in the 80s or even the 70s when it supposedly took place. And what the... Because it's not real. All the records they set, and Frank Dukes set many records, including... It's not real. The whole thing was fucking faked, and Frank Dukes made up the whole fucking thing, and then in interviews, he would just perpetrate like it was real, and he made it so real that they made a movie based on the event. And then that further perpetrated the fact that it was real. And he made a whole fucking career out of it. Does that shake you? It's fucking bullshit. Doesn't take much research to find that out. Does that make the movie Bloodsport less enjoyable? Maybe your instinct right now, and there's a part of you, if you're finding out that this is fake for the first fucking time, that's either going to resist it, do research, but really under the lens of, no, I'm sure it's real. And I'm going to look for things that invalidate the debunking part and validate my viewpoint that I want this to be real so much because it's what I've thought for decades. Do you know why those are your first instincts? Because your neural pathways in your brain are set. And it's very, very hard to break out of those neural pathways that have already been set. It's very, very hard to break addiction. It's very, very hard to break bad habits. Even if we know that they're addictions that control us and own us, even if we know that they're bad habits that lead to less of a quality of life for ourselves, it's very hard to break those habits, because once you set those neural pathways in motion, we don't consciously think of everything that we do. If we did, we would be exhausted within an hour of our day. We would never be able to do anything else. If you had to think of every conscious act while you drove, you'd fucking never get anywhere. You'd never want to drive anywhere. Right? It's how our brains work. The negative part of that, the addict of whatever you're addicted to, whatever your horrible habit is that you're trying to break. I'm going to go to a 12-step program. You know what your success rate is? Where you don't relapse and you don't go back and you don't continue to do the bad thing? 5%. But God is going to... 5%. Cold turkey alone in the middle of my fucking living room floor because I've hit rock bottom? 5%. I promise, honey, I'm going to stop. 5%. That's what they don't want you to know at fucking AA and all the rest of that shit. Now, I'm not saying those programs are useless. I'm not saying going to therapy is useless, blah, 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 blah. But just know, statistically, and they've tried to bury these stats, especially at places like fucking Alcoholics Anonymous and stuff, because if people knew the truth, which was 5%, they'd be less inclined to do it. And of course, we want people to undo the things in their life and to break the bad habits and to break the addictions. Pro wrestling people, 5%, which means I'll just come right out and say it. So this thing of Josh Wheeler fucking ripping on Larry and all that shit, that is what it is. At the end of the day, Larry's been doing this over 2 fucking decades. And the fact is, Larry is on your guy's mind far more than you are on Larry's mind. However, Josh Wheeler, I'm talking directly to you. If not for Larry Goodman, AWE would get shit. That's the truth. Him being a fan of yours makes it so he continues to come to your shows. Even when you guys said Larry can't come anymore because you didn't like something that he wrote or whatever childish fucking pussy ass shit, he continued to come because he's a man of integrity and he goes where he wants to go and he continued to write about the shows and he's your advocate. When I would fucking talk shit behind the scenes, Larry is your advocate, and almost everybody in Georgia wrestling knows it. And it drives some of them to distraction. Why does Larry like them so much? Because Larry is a fucking full-grown man who goes where he wants, does what he wants, and has the best of intentions, which is more than I can say for any of you cocksuckers in the wrestling business. That's the truth. And I know Josh Wheeler many times has tried to break out of, I'm just not going to be this guy, and I'm going to get my shit together, and I'm going to be more positive, and it's taken strides many times. We're not going to advocate this type of wrestling or promoting wrestling in this way, and he's not going to be Murder One anymore because we're going to be fucking more positive, but they always backslide, don't they? You know why? 5%. So I ain't even all that mad. Because the truth is, your neural pathways are making you continue to act in a way that is self-destructive and prevents other people from seeing you as a viable promoter, that someday AWE will truly succeed. Not just argue its way into some form of success, but really succeed. Could it happen? It could, but there are habits that have to be changed. And wrestlers who are not body guys, quote unquote, you will try and argue, no, I've tried, but have you really dedicated yourself? No, you haven't. You know why? Of course, you've started and stopped many times. And we know who these wrestlers are, whose bodies should be better. And they've had years to get it done. But you know why it hasn't happened? Even though, my God, here's the truth. It's the only thing preventing them. But they can't get it done. 5%. Chip Day. Shane Marks. I'm going to name two that have been wrestlers of the fucking year. Nobody denies how great they are. Nobody denies that they're two of the best of the modern era in the state of Georgia. Nobody who has wrestled those fucking guys would say anything except they're fucking amazing. 5%. Both of them have tried and tried and tried and gotten on the track of I'm going to eat better or I'm going to work out or both. They go and they fail. And then people around them allow that failure to happen. Either by saying, well, there's nothing you can really do about your body type. Yeah, but are they maximizing? Of course not. And then the other part, which is equally as heinous, is just fucking make fun of those guys or guilt them into something. Do you think that that's gonna fucking help? It doesn't. Wrestling people, you have to arm yourself with this knowledge of 5%. If you were trained initially to work incorrectly, work the wrong side, use the wrong arm for this, get up the wrong way, la 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 la. You know how many fucking times you're going to have to make a concentrated effort to do it the right way? First, you have to accept the fact that you're fucking doing it wrong. The 12-step thing has some things right. There are things that you have to put into place in order to give yourself a shot at even 5%, right? You do have to sort of acknowledge, yeah, I'm fucking this up and make a conscious, willing effort to change it. But you know what? The 5% chance of making that change a permanent or semi-permanent one. So, it sucks. Bookers that can't stop themselves from going to lame fucking conventions that they know, God, but they can't stop it. Because once you book enough shows and a bit works once, it's like comedy, right? Comedians go up there, they do a bit, it works in front of a crowd. Guess what? They're going to do that bit again and again and again and again and again, and that's fine. But in wrestling, when you do the same thing again and again and again and again, here's the difference between wrestling before, I would say pre-90s, and wrestling now. Is now when you do the same thing again and again and again, what you get is diminishing returns. Whereas old wrestling crowds wanted to hear the hits. Now you have a small section that does want to hear the hits, but you have another section that's like, if it ain't new, it's through. And that's different. Wrestling also used to have mechanisms in place where things didn't get stale and didn't get old. Guys went to different territories. Guys went to other places. They didn't hang around too long. Even when you had a set thing, Bruno Sammartino held the title for a very fucking long time, and they did basically the same routine on a 1 or 2 month cycle with everybody. You come in, get some kind of ambiguous decision with Bruno, do something to him, matches would happen, and then you would have bigger and bigger blow-off matches. And you'd go around the horn as many times as you could, depending on how big of a star is and how good the booking was. And you get multiple paydays out of the same villain. Then that villain would move on, leave the territory more often than not, and then they'd bring in somebody else. So that's why Bruno could keep the same routine. Hulk Hogan, similar shit, right? Hulk Hogan wrestled the same match a lot. And did it for years and did it successfully. But John Cena, we don't want to see it. We don't want to see the false finish kick out. We don't want to fucking see it. At a certain point. Though there was a giant section that does, they certainly wish they had that now. I'll tell you that. 5%. What could you do better? You better get started on it now, because here's the part that nobody wants to tell you because they don't want to frustrate you, but it's real, and so I'm going to put it out there so you know you're not alone. 5%. You're probably going to fail at it, and then you're going to have to start up again. 5%. You think I haven't stopped and started with fucking eating better and fucking working out and shit? Of course I have. This time it seems like it's taking. Yay. Right? And I can say, oh, it's an incentive of this, and then, you know, I want to lose weight for this, and da-da-da, and I want to live longer for my kids, and all of that's true. But no matter how strong you think your incentive is, 5%. Let me open the other fucking present. This one's cool as shit. It's from a place called Rusted Orange Craft Works. Oh, it's metal. Oh, badass. Fucking infinity symbol. Steven. Is that platinum? I assume it is. Platinum. If you sent this to me, fucking let me know. You know what? Where I'm gonna put this bitch? Blam. I'm gonna have Steven Platinum. Yeah, like more like that. It's fucking cool as shit. Promoters. Are you doing enough? Are you putting out videos? Are you putting out your flyer / poster? Are you canvassing the area locally? Are you inspiring people to help you promote, or are you browbeating them too? What are you doing that's working and continue to do it? What are you doing or not doing that isn't working, and how can you break the habit and now do it? Knowing that you're going to fail as many as or more than 19 times before it takes. So you might as well fucking get started. Anybody who works in sales will tell you, right? You hear a lot of no's before you get to the yes. That's why people are like, I don't want to do sales. I don't want to do that, because they're afraid of rejection. Well, guess what? You got involved in pro wrestling, which is rejection. Again and again and again. If you're a trainer, the wrestlers will not be grateful enough. They won't be respectful enough. Even if you browbeat them, even if you force them, even if you lead to them getting to the top echelons of the game. You know about how many will be an appropriate level of grateful? 5%. If you're being honest with yourself and not just declaring everything is a fun show and that was a fun match and that was a fun thing and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You know how many matches will be truly great? 5%. You know how many people should be true main eventers in your promotion? 5%. If you do everything fucking right, wrestle the right matches, you go to the right seminars, you impress the right people, you push, you push, you push, you push, you push. Your goal, I want to make a living pro wrestling. And then you do everything fucking right and you manage to avoid major injury for long periods of time and the timing works out. 5%. So yeah, part of it is you have to find value in what you're doing. You have to enjoy the journey, not just the destination. You also have to be realistic. 5%. How many contracted people are there in the WWE? AEW. So I consider that the only two in the United States where you're probably making a fucking living doing it. You know, maybe some in MLW, a few in Ring of Honor as well, sure. And maybe one or two that have found a way to hustle on the indies enough to make it work. 1 out of 20 out of the guys doing it. Those of you who are going to wrestle tonight, tomorrow, you know how many people are going to be on that card with you? How many wrestlers? About 20. What are you going to do to be the one that did the best job with whatever level you're at? How are you going to disrupt and remake the neural pathways in your brain to maximize your day, to maximize your ability and your chance to win this fucking lottery ticket? Yes, it is earned. Of course it is earned, but it's because of all the shit you had to do to get a shot. 5%. Those of you that bitch, moan, and blame others. I have a different attitude than I used to have. I used to get annoyed when like wrestlers was like, "Oh, I'm doing this thing and I'm jumping on this journey and I'm gonna do this thing and blah 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 blah." And then I've gotten out of the habit of even calling that kind of thing out when they fail because I realized like, fuck, you gotta try and you gotta fucking fail. And me stepping on their neck about it is not going to make it better. All I can do is encourage them. Fucking try again. So Josh Wheeler, fucking get your head out of your ass, get your attitude straight, get your mind right, promote the next show. And that's what we're trying to reach. We're trying to get to the point where that's a habit and not backsliding into blaming others and blaming everybody else in your life. Oh, it's Georgia wrestling history. They're the ones who are... If you guys, and I mean promoters, wrestlers, bookers, or whatever, haven't fucking figured out the Georgia wrestling history, Larry, me, the tapped out guys, Rob Rod, the all elite Marks, and all these other dickheads who are fucking covering this shit, if you haven't figured out that we're on your side yet, you're never going to. And let me say this as a final thing. People who are determined to make an enemy out of Larry, you're a fucking idiot. Not because he's going to retaliate, but because he's not. Because what that means is, long after you keep smashing against the rock, the fucking rock that is Larry Goodman, he is an institution. You keep smashing yourself against him to get some kind of fucking clout? Is that what the fucking kids are into? Ooh, I'm gonna get clout by talking all this shit. You're not getting clout from anybody except your fucking inner circle of boys, and they're exactly the people that you shouldn't be trying to impress, right? Don't crash yourself against Larry. At least if you crash yourself against me, I'll give you a fucking response and then we can go back and forth. But at the end of the day, I know the truth, which is if you're battling against the people you should be trying to, at the very least, have a cordial working relationship with, and at the very most, you should be trying to charm motherfuckers who have the ability to give you publicity, dumb fucks. But barring that, if you're in that bad habit of, I'm just going to blame everybody else because the truth of whose fault it is, it's too hard to bear. You got to decide to break that habit, and you got to try. And guess what's going to happen? You're going to fucking fail. 5%. But once you succeed, believe me, it's fucking worth it. Believe me, I fucking love sitting here talking about wrestling, helping more people than I've ever gotten to. The Pro Wrestler's Handbooks, on one hand, they're frustrating for me because less than 100 people are going to watch. But what's great about it is those are the ones I get the most response privately about. This really changed. I'm going to start doing this. Here's my list. And I'm sending it to you because I want to try to live up to it. It's fucking wonderful. Will Jacob Caleb Kitchens stop being a fucking insufferable prick for its own sake, which holds him back? I don't know, but I know that he's made small efforts to try, and he's backslid, and he's tried, and he's backslid. Hopefully one day he'll get to 5%. The problem is the behavior is now being validated, because even though there's no correlation between viral doing better and him being an asshole, in his neural pathways, it's creating that pathway. And he's going to start thinking, yeah, when I act this way, see, it's good that I act this way. Gary Lamb, same fucking thing, right? When he's insufferable and he keeps creating enemies and then fighting them, and then he loves stirring the pot, and it fucking works every goddamn time, and it validates it, and, you know, Southern Honor's doing good, and I'm a promoter, and blah, 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 and all this ties in together. It doesn't really tie in together. And if Gary, eventually he's going to have to do one of two things. Either things are going to collapse in on him and he's going to quit, or he's going to have to adjust his role. It's not easy to adjust your role. It wasn't easy for me to adjust my role to this. And there are other people in Georgia wrestling that either got out, came back and are doing the same shit, or there's the 5% who are transitioning into a new role. What are the habits you need to break? What are the good things you need to start doing? And when you fucking fail at them, almost inevitably, is that going to be enough to stop you? I hope not. I'm just laying it out here and being real. 5%. But oh, when you achieve that top 5%. Oh, when you actually make it happen, how much better your life is. Oh, when you're the person who's doing the best shit on a wrestling card as a habit instead of just a fucking shot in the dark once in a while. Oh, is it glorious. Oh, is it wonderful. And oh, will wrestling be better for it. I see evidence all over the place that things are better than they have been in a long time, if not ever. Continue to do it. The wrestlers who are putting out promos continue to put in the work. Everybody who's coming to me for help, just know you're just going to have to keep chopping away. Right? And sometimes when you find out the truth, swallow that motherfucking bitter pill and allow it to change your behavior. Allow yourself to change your neural pathways so you can break the bad habits. The truth hurts, it's true, but it does also set you free. Knowing that this is bullshit, will it change how you view blood sport the next time you see it? Maybe. But isn't it better than being a fucking dupe? Or, as we say in the wrestling business, a mark. I think it is. You have to make the decision whether you think it is as well. Go out there, tilt at the fucking windmills. Do you know what that is a reference to? Don Quixote, look it up, read the book, whatever. But just know there are always windmills to tilt at. There are always things to fight that will look ridiculous to the outside world that you're trying to fight. There are always things that you're going to fight against that you have virtually no chance of winning. But boy, when you do win, you've changed your life for the better. And isn't that worth 19 failures? to get that success. This has been Pro Wrestler's Handbook. I'm off to lunch, bitches. To the Magic Kingdom.